Thank you to the American Philatelic Society for their support in the making of this video. For information on membership and APS services, visit stamps.org.
The idea of the postage stamp was a game changer for postal services around the world when they were introduced in the mid-1800s and thereafter. Stamps would revolutionize the way that people send and receive mail, and would ultimately improve communication for people and businesses. The concept was brilliant, but there is a small problem with these little pieces of paper. They're really easy to steal if someone had the opportunity to do so. Full sheets could be folded up and stashed in someone's pocket. Now, this was a big challenge for companies and organizations early on with their employees. Unlike money that would be locked up and exposed to a few specific employees, stamps typically had to be available for everyone in the company that would be sending business mail out. And so stamps would need to be accessible in each of the buildings and floors where office clerks and employees would be working with outgoing mail. Stamps are a representation of money. An unused postage stamp is worth its face value. And besides stealing stamps to use on your own mail at home, at one point you could take unused stamps to the post office and exchange them for cash, which would have made them particularly tempting items to walk out the door with. Now, a company couldn't just print its name on the stamps, property of, to discourage theft. If they printed their name on the back of the stamps, who would notice when you apply the stamp to an envelope? And if they printed their name on the front of the stamps, you could potentially confuse the post office and cancel your own stamps. So the concept of branding stamps with tiny pinholes came about in the 1860s. Today, these pinholed stamps are known as perfins. Perfin is a combination of the words perforated initials or perforated insignia. I do also see them referred to as spiffs, stamps perforated with initials of firms and societies, but perfins is the most common. Perfins were basically an anti-theft mechanism. Perforated initials or designs of private companies or even government agencies to discourage theft from their own employees. They were proposed by a British inventor by the name of Joseph Sloper. He persuaded the post office in 1868 to allow firms and societies to mark their postage stamps with tiny pinholes, either perforated initials or some insignia or symbol. Post offices would then not accept these for cash and would not accept mail with perfins that were mailed from anyone other than from the authorized firm. Now, if the post office noticed a number of initialed stamps that were entering the postal system from other post boxes or other locations, they would alert the company that they may have a theft problem to address. The concept seemed to work really well and was quickly adopted around the world. Belgium, France, Germany, and Denmark were the first to adopt it after the UK. The United States was pretty late though, starting in 1908. Now, perfins have since been replaced with other bulk mailing methods, including more efficient franking machines starting in the late 1900s. The pinholes were punched out by a perforating machine, initially designed by Joseph Sloper, but later manufactured by a number of different companies. Businesses would obtain their own perforation machines to apply their initials or insignia to stamps that they purchase. There have been over 50,000 different initials and patterns that have been found on not only definitive postage stamps, but also commemoratives, revenue stamps, railway parcel stamps, and telegraph stamps spanning over 200 different stamp issuing entities. When you find them, it's usually best to flip the stamp over and view the perfin from the white back. In most cases, the lettering or image will be reversed, but it's way easier to see the full set of holes and help you to identify which company or firm sent the stamp. This is a relatively understudied world in stamp collecting. There are several clubs out there that continue to identify and document these perfin designs. Now, a lot, if not most, of the known perfin designs will have been identified by its use on a cover. Seeing the perfin in action on a piece of postal stationery with the sending company's name and address will provide all the certainty you need to know that stamps bearing this perfin are from that company or organization. This one is from the University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, U of P. This one is from Armour & Co. An A inside a C with a little O at the bottom. I also have a loose stamp with this exact same design, and had I not had the cover or access to a catalog, I may never have known where it came from. The world of Perfins brings in another fascinating element to the hobby. I've just spent the last couple hours not only trying to identify these Perfins, but then also trying to read up about the companies that do or do not exist anymore. It's a lot of fun. And when it comes to stamps, it brings in the missing element of who sent the letter with the stamp on it. Now, of course, if you collected covers, you would learn that very quickly. But for those of us who have loose Perfins in our collection, there is a coded symbol or set of initials that's just waiting to be solved and tell you more about the company that sent it. For instance, this stamp has a letter B that is inside of a star. I was able to find it listed in this catalog, and looking it up, it's from Burroughs Adding Machine Company based in Detroit. Actually, when I flip it over, we can see Detroit on the postmark. An adding machine company, as in big calculators before there were pocket-sized calculators. It existed for a century, 1886 until 1986, when it merged with another company. Anyway, here's some US Perfins from the Board of Education. You can see BDED or BENY for the Board of Education in New York. This one is from the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Company. Here's one with my initials, GB, from Denmark. Gyldendalske Bog, and it's a publishing house, I think. Of course, you'll find government or official services using these stamps. This one is from Canada and has OHMS, on His Majesty's Service, and these two are from Australia, OS for Official Service and GNSW, Government of New South Wales. Here's a Machin from the UK. BW is Borough of Watford. TRAV, TRAV for the Travelers Insurance Company, the first company in the US to offer travelers insurance. P&C, it's Pirelli, the tire manufacturing company that we know today, based in Milan. And we can see that this was sent from Milan when I turn it over and view the postmark. You can also find really cool symbols that have been used as a company's Perfin design. It really didn't have to be initials, just a marking that made the stamp recognizable to the Postal Service if used outside the company. There are several publications and online resources that can help you identify Perfins. Special thanks to the Perfins Club who gave me access to their catalog for the purpose of this video. I'll leave their link along with links to other resources in the description of this video, so definitely check them out. Now, before you go exploring Perfins, there are a few things that you need to know. Firstly, don't get excited if you find an upside down or inverted Perfin. They are extremely common. Office clerks were typically responsible for operating the perforation device, and they may not have paid attention and placed the sheet upside down, or gotten a bit lazy and folded the sheet in half to get the holes punched at twice the speed. When they did this, the ones that were folded over had the inverted perfins. If you can read the perfins on the back of the stamp the right way around, then you know that it was inverted. If it is backwards, it's the correct way around. Another thing to note is that more than one company can use the same initials or symbol. There was no process for establishing a unique perfin, so you'll see initials that could belong to multiple companies. Just looking at this page, you can see the letter B being used for different companies. This one is Joseph Breck & Sons, the City of Boston, as well as the Boston Police Department. And so this is where things get a little more fun and the detective work gets a little more intense. Firstly, as we've just seen, if you have a postmark with city on the stamp, That can help confirm the company where the office is based. Also think about the dates, the date of the postmark, as well as when the stamp was issued. Did all the companies that share a particular set of initials exist during that year? That might help to eliminate some of them. And of course, the exact structure of the initials. They may differ in font style or even just a hole count. You might find that similar initials have one or two more holes for some companies and less for others. So you may have to actually count the holes to confirm. Also, a company can use its symbol with slightly different variations for each of its office locations. So you can find the same company using the same initials but with a different design or just one pinhole difference. A really good example is this one, BFG, the BF Goodrich Company. You can see it's listed here several times, but each one has a different location for this control hole. This little hole that moves around for the different patterns actually tells you which office it comes from. And you can see from the listing that their offices span the US. And finally, think about how you want to study and collect Perfins. You could, of course, collect Perfins from a specific country or from a specific company and find examples of their Perfin in use on the various stamps that were around during the company's existence. You could collect Perfins from different companies that were all found on a particular stamp issue, or maybe you focus on a certain set of initials that were used by different companies around the world. As always, you make the rules. Interestingly, in the stamp collecting world, Perfins typically were not seen as desirable because they're regarded as damaged stamps, stamps that did not have the full visual due to the holes, and they were not very well sought after. They are also of no additional value than what other non-Perfins of the same issue go for. There are tons of these out there, but Perfins have been gaining popularity over the last several decades as collectors are thoroughly enjoying what I just experienced right now exploring these Perfins. It's an open area in philately with a lot more to explore, and you can absolutely contribute to the growth of knowledge in the Perfin world with your own discoveries. Just join a club and get started. If Perfins interest you, I've added a number of links in the video description, so definitely check them out. And as always, thank you for watching and happy exploring.